Okay, so you already know why I'm doing this. I look forward to following up with each of you guys in a year to see where you're at, what kind of changes, clearly, if you know I'm going to follow up in a year, you're not going to be in the same spot. So this is just a conversation. So as you watched with the other interviews that you kind of looked at, we just chat. Everybody's conversation, everybody's answer is different. So with that, if you will introduce yourself and tell us a little bit how you came into the world of Myo.
All right. Well, my name is Stephanie. I started the Myofunctional Academy with Carmen about 6 months ago. And I've been a dental hygienist for 21 years. Hygiene has been a really great career for me. I got to be a hygienist abroad. I got to do it part-time when my kids were little. I've had been part of some really great teams, been some part of some not so great teams. So I've learned a lot. I feel like I've been able to pick and choose where I do like to be. And I feel really confident in what I do. But that being said, probably about a year ago, I started to feel like I've hit the top. I'm at the peak of my clinical hygiene career, and maybe it's just feeling old after being in here 20 years, or the doctor is getting younger and I'm getting older, and everyone's trying to relearn stuff. And I've been there, done that. And along with that, the pay does not increase. So about a year ago, this just started really kind of eating at me a little bit. I live in a town that is a very expensive town to live in, and inflation is huge here. And my hygiene wages don't reflect that. My raises don't reflect that. Being in 21 years and feeling an expert in my field, my pay doesn't reflect that. So I think it started eating at me about a year ago, along with just starting to feel the wear and tear on my hands a little bit, and just really started on me that there's probably going to have to be something else. What else can I do? And just how do I grow in my professional life? Because obviously there is some sort of drive in me that wants to grow in my professional life, and something inside me that wants to make more money. And so I guess I just started looking online, like, what else can hygienists do? I never have been a good salesman in the hygiene chair or anywhere else in my life. So all the, working for a business and being a salesman, there's just no way. I looked at other, careers like medical field. I know some of my strengths, just working with people and having compassion are my strengths. Anyway, so I probably Googled a million different combinations of all those things for a few months. And then I don't know, Carmen's, however she does all her amazing techie stuff, helped her pop up on my social media feed. So I just clicked on her social media feed, and took me to Carmen's site, which led me down the Myo
rabbit hole.
I don't know, rabbit hole, which was crazy because I didn't learn about Myo. 21 years ago, 25 years ago, when I started hygiene school, no one talked about Myo. I literally had never heard of it, which is really sad now that I'm 6 months into it. And I'm like, how do I not know about this? How do all the doctors don't know about this? But I did go down the rabbit hole, which like Carmen says quite a bit, or like you say quite a bit, is just lights a fire under you a little bit. And you're like, that's really interesting. And that connects. And so I did, I just went down the Myo rabbit hole and was like, I think this is it. This feels good. And let's see what else, Carmen, let's see what this program is about, I guess. So
yeah.
That's how I got here.
That's so funny because I hear that so much. Like, I Googled this stuff, like we've all been there, and the things that were coming up, like I'm not a salesman. I knew what my strengths were, all of that stuff. So I did not want to go. Everything else was just like, oh my God, I'm going to trade this for that. No. Okay, so you told us a lot about that. What type of build? Well, tell us where you live and what a little bit about what type of business you're going to build.
So I live in North Idaho. I live in a resort town, so it's not a big town. There's about 10,000 people here, but I am about 45 minutes away from a bigger city, and then an hour and a half away from a very larger city. So I definitely know that I want to do a virtual business. I think that's how I will grow mostly. I also know in this town that I live in, there are a lot of, what should I say, like interested people in what I do and who I've talked to already. So I think right now, I guess if I'm dreaming big, I would have a location that I would see people if they want to, and sometimes we talk about some people that can't do all the computer stuff, like, and that's one of my challenges if we talk about that, like being techie. And I have there's a lot of retirement people in my town too. And I even have parents that live here that they tried to have the Zoom call with their neurologist recently, and it was their fault. Of course it was, but they couldn't figure it out. So part of me thinks it'd be great to have a place to go to that would be good for me. I get out of the house and something that's all mine, and see patients if I need to, or clients that I need to, and then, but mostly an online business. That's my vision right now.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, you're dreaming, and that's the first step. How did you know that Myo was for you? You've kind of touched on it, but how did you, when did you know, or what was it that you were like, this is it?
Okay, so a few things, I guess. Number one, it's something I didn't have to go back to school and get another degree for. It was something that I could take what I do feel very confident in and build on that, which makes me feel good. And something for myself, I think also, we talk about in dentistry, you know, I've always been okay being number two, you know, it's not my business, but as I've probably grown up in adulthood and just got confidence in different ways and learned a lot, I was like, why not? I am a businesswoman, whether I think I ever thought I was or not. I run a household. I've run a PTA all by myself. I run rental companies. Like, I've done these things that I didn't give myself credit for, that I knew, and I'm actually pretty good at. So I think once I realized what a businesswoman I could be, or have something for myself and make my own money, then I was like, this even feels even better. And also something that I can still see clients and help people with, feels good in my heart, because that's who I am too. So
Yep, you're a hygienist. You have a caregiver's heart.
I do.
We all do. And that's why it was so hard for me when I was like, I don't like hygiene. Like, what is it? And then I felt better once I knew it was just the actual scraping of teeth. I loved people, and I loved the talking and the social hour, you know. It was like, I liked the easy cleanings because they gave me a lot of time for social connection, rather than, you know, when you had the real heavy cleanings and you actually had more work to do, that was hard because we couldn't talk.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay, so what decisions have you made so far?
There seems to be a lot of them that I've made. Just joining the program was probably the biggest decision. Just really just feeling like I needed to jump in, especially having known a certain career for so long. It was a jump in, and so that was a big decision. But once I did it, I was just really, really happy that I did it. And okay, other decisions, like literally, how do I figure out all this technology stuff and go for it and figure it out. I've decided to not work. I went down on one day of hygiene so that I could concentrate on Myo and my business, which felt good. That was a big decision, and to tell my boss that I was doing that. And then all the little decisions in between, like, how do I get paid? Like, all the things that I'm setting up for myself, the business name, like all the little things that have created one big, massive movement. 6 months later, there's been a lot of good decisions.
Yeah, that's awesome. Imperfect action, like just those little things. Correct me if I'm wrong, but it's a little bit exciting when you're naming. It's like, it's a big deal when you're naming your business, or when you're building your brand, or deciding on your logo or your colors. Like, I get to think about this. I get to decide yes or no. And I think it was probably for me the first time in my life where I had total control over everything, that I didn't have to consider anybody else.
Yeah, that's true. And I felt 'cause, you know, I have some good girlfriends and, you know, they're always, where are you at? What are you doing? What do you know, all this stuff. And so it was nice, like when I was at that stage of even thinking about my business name, and they're like, you know, people throwing out stuff all over the place, but, you know, and I'm just like, no, no, nope. And I just knew it would hit me, you know, like, I don't know, like when you know it's the right purse, you have to get it. Like I hit me, like I waited for that. I just, so many names, so many names, so many names, and then and it did exactly that. And it was my decision and it felt good.
And you have a visceral reaction, like in your gut, like, yes,
That's it.
yeah.
That's
And I've never asked anybody anything about anything with my business, because it was like, nope, I don't want anybody else to sway me whatsoever. So what kind of brave conversations are you having?
I'd say there's two different brave conversations, or two different ones. One being with the team members and my patients at work, like my work life brave conversations. Because at my dental office, nobody really has heard of myo either. And it was brave to start to talk to my doctor about it. Luckily, he's been he will talk to me about it. But how do I implement with my patients? And as I've gone along, it does feel like it takes courage to start a conversation with a patient, because they have not heard this before. And then the follow up on it too. Like I'm used to sounding like I know what I'm talking about. And so it does take courage to step out of your box of your normal spiel that you always say, to start talking about something new, sounding like you know what you're talking about, knowing what you're talking about, and being able to get them help. So I think in the office, it's taken courage. And then outside the office is another, for me anyway, just putting it out in the world with people that I meet, acquaintances, friends that are like, Steph, what's up? And I can be like, well, actually, I'm doing this thing. And they're like, tell me more. And it does take a lot of courage to put it out there, like literally saying, I am going to have my own business. And they say, when are you going to start? When can I see you? When are you opening your doors? Like, you know, I the first time I did it, I was like, wanted to backtrack immediately, going, wait, maybe sometime. And then I've you know, it just happened more and more. And so those conversations are becoming more frequent, and they feel better the more I do them, because yes, I am going to open.
Yep. I think a big thing also about starting those brave conversations is, which is also why we have conversations with confidence, so that you can just string along a number of great answers, you know, because that was always my concern is, okay, I could talk about this, but if they ask me a follow-up question, you know, like I was really good with these couple topics, and then so then what? So then what? So then what? And as I got better and more polished and more practiced, and then that conversation could just go wherever it needed to go. But I used to be so nervous when I started, because I thought, dead end. I don't know. That's a great question. I'm still learning, but I'll let you know when I see you next time, you know, that type of thing. So but you have to, can you see why I now say you have to have those conversations? Because you would be 6 months in and still keeping this sturdy little secret. It's like, we got to tell people, I can help you. I can help you. Maybe not yet, but I can help you. So that's awesome.
Yeah, I really like your 7-layer dip lessons that you give, or at least that tool that you've given, because that's how I think. That's how I am at the doctor's office too. I'm like, well, why? And like, why would that matter? And, you know, and or maybe it's just my need to not know what I'm talking about, or sound like I know what I'm talking about. Like I need to know these answers. So I love that 7-layer dip, because I'll just pick a topic that I'm not feeling totally great on, and I will just fill that out so that I've got 7 answers for that one topic. So
yeah, I can go and I can riff off. And the thing is also, I talk to myself all the time. Like if I was answering something, or if I picked up the phone and somebody said, well, what is myofunctional therapy? Oh, funny that you should ask. I have an answer for that. So I just always felt really strongly about not having canned response, not being a robot.
yeah.
When I worked in the dental office, I don't know if you've ever worked with a dental consultant, but we had dental consultants try and teach everybody how to have the same answer. And
Hated it.
And they wanted you to talk knee to knee, eye to eye. And it drove me crazy because I'm not a knee to knee, eye to eye person. Like, let's just get into the cleaning and have our conversation and just kind of let it naturally flow. And they hated me because I was like, I am not a robot. I'm not going to explain something the same that you're going to explain something. So that's the biggest thing. And like, back to conversations with confidence, when we practice, like, hey, here's what I would say. You get your workbook out, you get your pen out, and you just figure out what you would say and then go from there.
Because everyone wants to be talked to like a human, like an actual person. And that's what I've worked with lots of consultants also. And it drives me nuts. I can't do it either. I need to talk to them like they're them, especially when I've seen them for years and years and years. Like, I know this person, I don't talk to them like that. I talk to them like this. And it's always worked really successfully. So
yeah, and I think that has worked well for me in my business. People come to me because I have built that know, like, and trust factor. You're going to build that with your people. Your people may not be my people, and vice versa, which totally gets into the whole ideal customer lab type of stuff that we'll go through. But you, like, exactly, that's how, like, you just want to be natural. People want to be talked to like humans. So
yeah.
What kind of boundaries are you setting? I can't wait for this answer, especially because you have cut back a day of hygiene and you did it relatively quickly, if not right away. Like, didn't you?
I did, because it took me a few months. Like, I've just been, if I'm 6 months in, I think I'm 2 months out without being out there on Mondays. So, but I needed to do it. I guess I just feel like I like, in my personal life, I have a husband who works away from home months at a time. And then I had the PTA stuff. Like I said, I've been 4 years the president and doing everything. And I'm ready to move on in my life. So I gave that up. That was a big boundary for me. I gave up that. I went down to hygiene 3 days, which also I knew I was going to have to at some point. I mean, to be able to have time for myo. And I am someone who, I do have, my husband at home who also makes money. So I was able to do that. And my enough wasn't as tight as maybe some other people might be. So I was thankful for that. And I'm a mom to kids, and there's work-life balance, which is part of the reason I would like to go through to this also. I feel like I see with you even some work-life balance. Like, even though you are a very hard worker, I can tell, Carmen, and work really hard, you also know how important it is to live. And that's who I've always been and who I want to continue to be. So yes, boundaries with my time and my commitments has basically been huge. Do I miss some of my family and friends because I'm working so hard on this stuff right now? Yes, I do. But I know it's not forever. And it's like, I have definitely this forward thinking attitude, which is a little bit different for me, or not different for me, but the confidence to do that is different for me, to be like, actually, I'm working towards something and it's going to happen soon. So, and boundaries at home, I have my time, my spot, kids stay away from my desk area and all my stuff. And, it's worked pretty well. And one of the things I love about your program too is, some of those boundaries, they do get challenged, life happens, and I can go back and make up what I missed. If the boundary is at my home, Friday morning till this time is myo study and myo class, but life happens and I can go back and make it up. I can go back and see what I missed. And that's been really helpful in a busy woman's life. So
yeah, absolutely. Boundaries are a big thing. They're going to be ever changing because and everybody has a different season, and I go through it probably a couple times a year where my work-life balance gets out of alignment, and then I have to sit and go, okay, what is it? And sometimes it's that I want to have too much life and not enough work. And so it tends to be a seasonal thing, definitely at the end of the year, which is why I have for years closed the last 2 weeks of the year, because I know that during the holidays, I'm just not checked in. Like the week of Thanksgiving, even 1 year I worked except Thanksgiving, Thursday and Friday. And on Monday, I thought, why did I do this? Because I really want to be in the grocery store getting my stuff and all of that. I said, okay, next year, here's my boundary. I'm not doing this. So what has been a challenge so far? I have a sneaking suspicion I know that some of this answer.
And I'm going to say technology.
Technology.
that was probably my very first, and it was even like with our very first emails, Carmen, there was something about, you had something in your email that you said, okay, this is what we start with. Go ahead and mark something in your email that always puts me into like your focused inbox. You had some sort of instruction.
Whitelist me.
Yeah, whitelist. I didn't know what that meant. Of course, I looked it up how to do it. I did it, but I did it backwards. And so then I'm like reaching out to you going, I have not heard anything. Am I missing anything? And you're like, I've sent it 5 times, Stephanie. What's your problem? And at that point, I was literally like, okay, I can't do this. I'm just like totally not my thing. Well, 6 months later, literally, you're going to laugh, but well, I told you how I'm sitting here right now with a new MacBook and a second screen that I actually did all my answers to these things I'm not even looking at right now. But and then literally obsessed with Canva, making my end of the year client presentation on Canva right now, which I don't know how to do that stuff. And I have watched a million YouTube videos like to get me to each little piece of everything, but like just learn Drive and I don't know, leaps and bounds for this old lady in the 6 months. And it actually just feels really good. Not only, so I can be confident when I start to see people and feel like a businesswoman, I guess, to be able to, give a good product and people feel like I know what I'm doing, as well as just like in life, like I don't want to fall behind. I'm 45 years old and I need to stay up. I need to be able to be 85 and stay up with the technology and don't want to feel like I'm behind. So this program in general has helped me, I feel like, just in professional life and in like regular life with technology. So
that's awesome.
Thanks, Carmen.
You're welcome. Technology is a big thing. And you know what? People are always shocked when they assume that because I have an MBA that we learn that kind of stuff. Like, no, I was trained to come out of grad school and run Exxon, but like build a website, a domain, all of that kind of stuff. So I'm just super duper grateful that everything is available for free on the internet or a small course, like I have, just lots of little courses that I've enrolled in, whether it's $49 to $300 to $3,000, just a variety. What I love is that I can figure it out. Sometimes, and you'll probably get here, sometimes you're going to spend way longer than had you just hired somebody, a professional, to do it. But I like to know things and I like to know how something is done. And I also think it's important to be able to do everything in our business. So I'm with you. I didn't know how to do Canva. I was learning a new video editing called CapCut. I pay for an editing software, but I was looking for one for my assistant that was free and easy. And she does a lot of my stuff in CapCut. So I pulled it up on my computer yesterday and I thought, this is bomb diggity and it's free. And there it is, so I love it. Okay. What has been exhilarating so far?
Probably just my conversations that I'm having with people, and which then creates more excitement in me. I honestly, like we talked about before, it took courage to start talking about this stuff out in public. And then once I did, I swear every single conversation after I say what I'm doing, and they're like, I've been mouth taping for months now. Oh my gosh. I just read Breathe, a breath, all the stuff. It is out there. It's everywhere. People need you. And then as soon as someone's like, I've been mouth taping for 3 months, I literally had this 4 conversations in a row, in a month. And I'm like, what? And I said, well, why don't you come work with me and we can help you not have to mouth tape for the next 40 years of your life. And so things like that, I think, just build the exhilaration in me that I'm where I'm supposed to be, and actually for Myo at all, that I can help people like that. So I think just the conversations have been exhilarating. Yeah. And then I guess on the other side of this, this, but I'm recognizing my own OMDs during this program and experiencing myofunctional therapy myself. And getting my own tongue tie done, which will be later this month, actually. So I'm kind of excited for the work I'm doing on myself. I guess that's very exhilarating too, not only in other people, their excitement, but also the work I'm doing in myself. see the changes that I get, and just, I don't know, taking care of myself is exhilarating, I guess.
It is absolutely, because if you don't take care of you, if you're what's that saying? If your well is dry, or you can't give from a dry well or whatever, like, yeah, absolutely. I also, what about the conversation with the doctor? So you weren't sure who you were going to reach out to to do your release, or, to be your local provider and that kind of stuff. And that was my first thought when I thought, oh, that's going to be exhilarating for Stephanie, because you felt so good after that conversation, because now this is your human, you're going to refer, and you have already referred, and you have also written your first report.
Yes, which he didn't even put it together until my sister told him that it was me, because it was so dang professional and nice and thorough. And he came in. So I clarified with her after a class the other day when I shared this, and I said, well, can you knew that he read it before he saw, Lucas? And she said, well, yeah, he carried the report in with me. They took it back to him, and then we got seated, and then he brought it back in his hand. And he started, talking about the stuff that's in the report. And then she said, well, I just need to make sure that you're clear that this is my sister who you saw last week. And he's like, well, Stephanie, I just saw her last week. And she's like, well, yeah, this is her business. And she just said that he was blown away of what I could already produce, basically. And that did feel good. That did feel good. He's like, what?
Yeah. And
Right.
He's local, and now that helps you with your conversation, right? Because when you're looking in somebody else's mouth and you identify a tongue tie, or you feel like where you're going to refer that person to.
Yeah.
And that was the thing for me that was really nice and easy, because I had my Dr. Bieneman. And so when I was having those conversations, I could easily say, oh, I refer to one person in the state of Colorado, and it's Dr. Bieneman. Some of the other students who are still trying to find their people, they are afraid to start having those conversations, because it's like that hard stop. Well, where are you going to send them? I don't know, but we can also say, hey, when I know more about your case, then I can help you. So that buys you more time. I say that to people all the time. Do I have somebody in Two Dot, Montana? I have a big network of people. When I know something about your case, I can help you find the right person. So it shouldn't stop our conversations, but for a lot of people it does. All right. How are you staying organized?
Well, I love Google Drive. Google Drive is what keeps me organized now. I'm a person who does love to be organized. So to kind of, there's still so much more for me to learn, I'm sure, but this tool has been amazing. Your layout is amazing. I go back and look at resources and the videos all the time. And I think just, I guess myself having a space, my desk, I have a folder, and then I have my computer, and between what you offer us, and what I'm building on my own computer, my own resource library, I know where to go get everything right now. I just feel like and to start off that way, it makes me feel really good too, that because I am new to Myo, and will just be starting to see patients, like, to create it from the beginning, it's going to be super organized. And I'm super stoked about that.
That's awesome. Awesome. You are going to love when I teach you that welcome to the Trelloverse.
Yeah, I have not looked at Trello yet, so I'm waiting for that, because I have other stuff.
It runs my life. Stephanie, I organize my recipes.
Okay.
Like, when you tear them out of a magazine, and then you have all these pages of, okay, what do I do with these? I have an app, I scan them, they go to my menu planner board, and on Sundays when I do my stuff for the week, click, oh, look there's green bean pistachio vinaigrette right there. I love it. So you guys you're gonna really love, if you love Google Drive, you're gonna love the Trelloverse. So I just thought about that. Okay, so what has been your favorite thing or things so far with the Ditch Hygiene Academy?
Probably my favorite thing is what I just touched on a little bit, is literally the amount of resources that you put that you make available for us, at least for the gold level. Because I'm gold level, I feel like I have everything right there that I can go to. Or like and I said before, if I have to miss a class, I can go back and rewatch something. That's probably my favorite thing. I don't feel like there's much that I'm missing or can't find or are alone with. And I didn't go through a different program, but I have this feeling of just what comments that other people have said. It's like, they just don't have the resources, the resource library right there, the digital library basically at their fingertips to go make sure what they understood is what actually was said. Like I go back and re-look at some of the things. That's probably the best part. I mean, of the program. Your resources are amazing, and it makes me super confident, and it makes me not feel alone in this education, basically.
Yeah, I love to hear that, because that is one of the biggest things is, I always just use the word robust. Like, there is so much, there is nothing like it on the market, because you get everything that I've done. And just like, even to take that a step further, like the other day when Kelsey asked something about sleep promotion strategies, and I went, oh, I don't have a lesson on that. Within days, there was a lesson on it, so that is the nice thing again. And most everybody in the program are gold level, because I always say the people who, like you, who came into the program, perfect vision of, I want a business. This is what I want to do. So we do work really hard to make those resources. And if I love that if there's nothing that's there, that you guys feel comfortable saying, hey, do we have this? And then I can see like, oh, is that something I can make available or something? So, okay. So last question, what would you say to somebody who's considering jumping in?
I would say that I would say be a gold member. For sure. Don't cut yourself short. Be a gold member in this program. I would say that if you're looking to grow in your professional life or having something of your own, then Myo is the perfect place to be. It's the perfect education to have. And it's doable. It really is doable. And it's fire giving, like you always say, like it gives some fire in your belly and reignites something. Especially if you've been a hygienist for a long time or looking for something different, it's worth it. It's an education worth it, whether you use it in the dental office, in your own business, or for your own personal OMDs. It's just worth it.
Yeah. Do you think, Stephanie, I know you came into this with a clearly aligned vision, like I want a business. Knowing what you know about the program and what you're learning about Myo, would you agree with me when I say, because I interview a lot of people who are like, I want no part of starting my own business. That's just not my jam. I love hygiene. I want to stay in hygiene. And I'm always like, but you don't know what's going to happen. And so I always say, you can obviously start at your own pace and do hygiene, do both. But would you have been, knowing what you know now and how excited you are, could you have seen yourself in a position to say, oh, I just want to stay and do this in my office and do it, in my current job, versus building your own business? Does that question make sense?
It does. I can see how that could happen, especially if it's introduced to you by your boss. I mean, just being a hygienist and being in the position that we're in. I mean, I guess I just shouldn't use the word number two, but like, you always have someone that has, you have a boss, you have someone that you are responsible to, you have someone that actually has the responsibility over you. And in that, some people really are comfortable in that comfort zone. So so I can see if your boss comes and says, hey, learn this, then how it would be hard to separate yourself, especially if you just go take some courses that isn't the business minded. And I think I'm just really fortunate that I fell into your program actually first, because I could see that have happened to me actually, because I was just looking for something different from hygiene, but I guess, but I also, as myofunctional therapy becomes more mainstream, hopefully, with more education in the dental world, I do wonder how it'll mesh a little bit. Like it will have to, like dentists will have to start talking about it. We'll have to start referring. Orthodontists will have to start talking about, we'll have to start referring. So I think it's really exciting to be on the business end at the beginning right now. And it's another thing, I'm very aware of that. And I feel grateful being kind of at the beginning of this wave that I think is going to happen.
Absolutely. I kind of think about it like multi-level marketing, you know, when I think about people who are like on the bait, you know, like the first people who were selling essential oils, or which I was never a salesperson, but I know how much I spend on protein supplements and, you know, like essential oils, all of these things, but that was never me. That was never my jam. So I always tell people like the future is so bright with this because you're really early on. You feel like you're years behind me and I'm years behind somebody else, but there is so much out there, so much to go around. So I look forward to seeing you a year from now to see how your journey is. I can't wait to follow your tongue tie story to see,
Yep.
you know, just because I don't have that anecdotal story. I live vicariously through my clients, so I don't get to share that. So wonderful. Thank you so much for taking the time to do this. I'm going to let you get out of here so you can get back to your sick kiddo.
Thank you. All right. Well, thanks, Carmen.
You're welcome. I will see you in class.
Okay. Bye-bye.
All right. Bye, Stephanie.